Alright, what's up guys? We finally get the official gameplay overview trailer for Project Resistance, which if you don't know, is a spin-off on the Resident Evil series where it's going to be a multiplayer focused game. I know, no one was asking for that unless it was going to be in the vein of Resident Evil Outbreak. Unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that it is not at all like Resident Evil Outbreak. In fact, it is more like what people thought it was going to be, which is going to be asymmetrical, more like Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th, with a mixture of some Left 4 Dead elements, which unfortunately was something I predicted, and I was really hoping I was going to be wrong, but that is what it's going to be. So there was members of IGN that actually got to play this, and they got to put out some extra detail out there that obviously from this gameplay trailer you'll obviously be able to tell, but it always helps to have someone, you know, playing it hands-on. Also, one thing I should mention real quick is that there's going to be a gameplay closed beta, an actual demo for those, you know, at home. The way to get into it is being a part of the Resident Evil Ambassador program or website, signing up and basically registering for this and having a chance to play it on the PlayStation 4 first, I believe, and then it's going to be followed by the Xbox One. And it's also coming to PC, no beta mention of the PC version, but either way, it's going to be 5-player, essentially. 4v1, or 1v4, depending on, you know, just like Dead by Daylight, where one person is going to play as, and I got the name here, I'm going to be moving all over the place. I'll put gameplay on the screen and some images to kind of like illustrate my points. So I've got the characters here. Actually, let me go ahead and talk about the survivors. So it's a team, you know, 2 sides, 4v1, 4 players who are trying to survive. It's essentially like you're going through escape rooms. So you're going to have 5 minutes to get through the whole thing, the whole round. And essentially, as the survivors, you're going to be fighting enemies, and you're going to be destroying traps, making sure you don't get caught by the traps, to get through these rooms as fast as physically possible. And I'm trying to get the name here, the Umbrella Mastermind, who actually does have a name. Okay, here we go. Sorry about this. The Mastermind, an over-the-top French guy named Daniel Fabron, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right and not butchering it, who oversees each area by way of checking a mini-map and cycling through between cameras. While the layout of the area is randomized along with the item pickups and key item locations, a few zombies are also generated on their own. It's up to the Mastermind to really set the stage using cards from a deck of available hazards. You deploy these dangers rapidly while looking through cameras, usually but not always stuck to impeding survivor progress indirectly, excuse me. Most of these cards cost energy, which slowly regenerates to a maximum of 10, and rooms can hold so many hostiles, ensuring that the Mastermind will have to think carefully about when and where to enact schemes. Summoning a zombie right in front of a whole group will just be a waste of time and energy, but placing a leg chopper on the dark corner with a licker at the end of the hall, along with several zombies in a tiny room that holds the key, and you'll gleefully watch pandemonium commence. So, I don't know how many of you watching this video have played Zombie U. Now, this is a horror game by Ubisoft that released back in 2012, I believe, when the Wii U launched. It was a Wii U exclusive for a few years, and then they decided to just call it Zombie and port it over to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, stripping the Wii U gamepad elements, I should say, and also a multiplayer mode that was in the game that was removed, obviously with the ported version. And in the original Wii U version, they have something similar to this. Again, I don't know how many people have played that. I wish I had some gameplay to put on the screen. Maybe I can find like an official Nintendo gameplay of it from back in 2012 when they were demoing it. But basically, how it worked is one player was using a Wii remote and a nunchuck in first person, killing the enemies sent by the other player. Again, this was local multiplayer only, who was using the Wii U gamepad, summoning enemies to kill the other player. So it's essentially kind of the same thing, you know, not 100% similar to Dead by Daylight, where you're just kind of going around as the killer in first person, and you know, you're hunting everyone down, trying to make sure they don't escape. And yeah, you do have abilities and whatnot, but this is different. This seems more like that zombie U mode that I'm talking about. But either way, let me also mention the name of the survivors. So there's 4 survivors. Number 1 is Valerie, who is the healer. Can send out a pulse that highlights items to pick up, as well as an invaluable ability to heal the group. January, who's the hacker, has essential abilities that can shut down one of the Mastermind's cameras and slow down the rate of the summoned horrors. Tyrone, who's the tank, can rally his friends to reduce the damage they take, and also let loose a badass stunning kick that can give the tyrant pause. And Samuel, the fighter, who is all about offense, who can use melee weapons or his own 2 fists to great effect. So I do like that at least the 4 characters have their own ability. In Dead by Daylight, there is nothing like that. The killers all have their own set of abilities, which are really cool. But the players are essentially skins. You can bring like items into the game, like a med pack or a toolkit or something. But I do like the idea that these are 4 dedicated characters that actually have abilities. So that at least is something to take away from this. And yeah, you're essentially, like I said, trying to go through these rooms, navigating, you know, going through these rooms quickly as physically possible, dodging traps, locating puzzle pieces, destroying key items, just so you can make it through. And it's a round, you know, multiple round game where obviously you're going against the opposing team and you're trying to win. And one of the things that the Mastermind can do, that Daniel can do, is that he can control Mr. X. And he's even got his cool hat from Resident Evil 2 Remake. And I do have some images that I'm actually going over looking at right now. What I will say is, because they're using the RE engine, at least the game looks really good. You can tell that they're reusing assets from Resident Evil 2. They're reusing animations, they're reusing zombies, and that is cool. They brought the map back, which kind of looks like the map from Umbrella Corps. I know no one wants anything back from Umbrella Corps, but that is something they're bringing back. It highlights key items and enemies on the map itself, so that way you're able to keep track of what's going on. You have the timer up there on the top, and the whole thing is that certain things you can do, say you get caught in a trap, and obviously it's in the favor of the Mastermind, he will gain more seconds on his end, benefiting him. But if you're able to overcome the trap, not get caught by it, and start destroying it, you'll gain seconds to your timer. So it's definitely a back and forth type of thing, which you know, could prove for some interesting rounds. I do like the locations. They looked very good. They look very detailed. They could have just reused assets, and I mean, for what it is, I do at least like that they're implementing some new things to it. They do have a picture here of Daniel. He looks like a bootleg Wesker. He's even got, you know, his own set of shades, and it says right here, Bioweapon Tyrant. And also it seems like there's ranks, so maybe you can level them up. And there's only one, I guess you could say, killer character, Mastermind character, so I don't know if that's something that they'll change in the future. But as far as his skill set, the only one they have highlighted here, you see some images of others, but the one that they have highlighted here in this image from IGN is BioWare Tyrant. Ultimate skill, Brutality. Take control of the Tyrant bioweapon and hunt down survivors. Increases hook punch speed and damage. Base cooldown 300 seconds. So like they said, there are cards, and those cards are going to represent the abilities for most likely both the survivors and the Mastermind. Yeah, I mean, there's not really too much more to it. You're just essentially navigating these areas. The Left 4 Dead aspect is kind of like how they're describing here the inventory system. I'm going to try to find it here. So it says it right here. You'll have to rely on more than just your wits, as the survivors can outfit themselves with all manner of weapons and items using meager credits at the start of each area, and more can be found by exploring as you move. Guns are expensive and ammo is sparse, but the ability to take out danger at a distance can't be overstated. Meanwhile, melee weapons like bats can dish out a lot more punishment before breaking, but without backup from a friend with a grenade, a melee attacker could get quickly overwhelmed, as you might expect. Your group will only have a chance of surviving if everyone works together, and it's the Mastermind's job to harass and separate the team and pick them off one by one. So that's kind of like the Left 4 Dead aspect. I'm sure many of you zombie fans, horror fans, have played at least Left 4 Dead 1 or 2, and they are phenomenal co-op games. And obviously, as the enemy team, the infected, you want to pick them off. So like if you're using the smoker, for example, you want to like catch one of the teammates while they're kind of away from the rest of the group, and that's kind of how this is going to work. So again, that's the Left 4 Dead-esque inspiration, whereas Dead by Daylight is kind of the same thing. You want to pick them off one by one, but you cannot attack in Dead by Daylight. The most you can do is put like a pallet in front of them, so that way it takes them a few seconds to have to break it and get to you. But depending on how good the killer is, they could still get to you even if you do something like that. And you just kind of have to get away. You can't really defend yourself at all. You get grabbed, and once you get down, the killer will grab you and try to bring you to a point to hook you. And you can, if the killer doesn't find one of those hook spots to put you on the hook, you can wiggle out of it. But again, there's no combat as far as being the survivor, whereas this game at least offers you that option. I mean, yeah, there's not too much more than that. They said that this is a, trying to find the quote here, Capcom made it clear, again, this is from the IGN article, which I will link below in the description. Capcom made it clear that this was not so much a full product as it was still an idea, and it's plain to see where the idea was birthed from. A touch of Dead by Daylight / Friday the 13th's asymmetrical multiplayer, a dash of an escape room challenge gone wrong horribly, with a bit of Left 4 Dead's focus on constantly moving between safe rooms. This is better than Umbrella Corps, but like I said, Capcom wants to make a multiplayer game with the Resident Evil universe in mind, and they've tried different ideas. Not all have been developed by Capcom, but you look at Operation Raccoon City, which was supposed to be a story-focused game with a what-if scenario, whether you can kill Leon or not, and also letting you see a bit of the mercenary side of what happened during Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. And I think that that's probably the best they've done, and I know it's not a perfect game by any means, but it wasn't even developed by Capcom, and that's probably why it didn't have that full-on polish. And then next came Umbrella Corps, which was, I don't know what they were trying to do. I mean, they went down to the Unity engine, not to talk bad about the Unity engine, but you could have used MT Framework, you could have used anything that you've had prior, but they chose to, go to the Unity engine, which is actually used for a lot of, I think, mobile games. And I think even though it was developed by Capcom internally, it just, I don't know what, I mean, I know what they were aiming for. They were aiming to make it an esports game, let's be honest. That's what they were aiming for. They wanted it to be an esport game, a game taken really seriously, to have teams, because that's, you can tell if you played it that that's what they were going for. And if the polish was there, and I know it's not a Resident Evil game, no one asked for it, and I totally agree with that, but what I will say is it is a spin-off, and I've always been a lot more lenient when it comes to spin-offs, because look, we got Umbrella Corps, right, which no one says is a great game, but we ended up getting Resident Evil 7. We ended up getting Resident Evil 2 Remake. It's not like just because they made Umbrella Corps that all games are going to follow, the same thing. They just want to make a successful multiplayer game that could potentially generate revenue. Who knows? This game could most likely have skins, more maps. They say it's not even a fully fleshed out idea yet, even though it looks like they have put some development into it already. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what Capcom's end goal is. I think they're just trying to find that multiplayer game. Personally, if you asked me, the perfect multiplayer game in the Resident Evil universe would be a full-on Mercenaries game. That's what I've always said, and I'll still stand by that. You make a Mercenaries game with the Resident Evil 2 remake and, you know, well, the RE engine, but the Resident Evil 2 remake style of gameplay. You put levels from all the Resident Evil games spanning from Resident Evil 0 to Resident Evil 7. You put almost, you know, as many characters, both heroes and villains, that you can put. Put as much weapons as you can put. Make it co-op. And make it, you know, have a PvP factor to it. And again, put fan favorite areas like the Raccoon City Police Station, the mansion, places in Raccoon City, places in the village, places in, you know, from Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 7. And yeah, you just have every character possibly in it. And just have that be co-op and have it be PvP. That would be an awesome multiplayer game, because the Mercenaries mode in general is a fun one, and I think that that's one that people can get behind. Again, it wouldn't be a main line Resident Evil game, but if you wanted to make a spin-off multiplayer game, I think that's the best way Capcom could go about it. But it looks like they really want to go for PvP, like straight up PvP, and again, with Umbrella Corps, a bit in Operation Raccoon City. Operation Raccoon City had like about 5 or 6 multiplayer modes. Umbrella Corps was essentially PvP only, because the single player mode was just a tutorial, a really pathetic tutorial. Could have been at least a somewhat of a story mode, but it was literally a tutorial. And then now Project Resistance is, to my knowledge, they haven't described anything about offline. It's going to be an online only PvP, you know, 4v1 mode, and I don't really think that's going to do well, especially considering you just released Resident Evil 2 Remake, a single-player game that the vast majority loved, myself included, got, you know, critically acclaimed, got, you know, everyone's loving it, people are still playing it, so many people speedrunning it. To then go to kind of like a multiplayer, melee, kind of focused. I say that because there's a lot of melee in this, and it kind of reminds me of Metal Gear Survive. Metal Gear Survive added a lot of melee, and I mean, obviously, there's a lot more to it that separates it from the, you know, the regular Metal Gear Solid games. But it kind of reminds me of that. But it, you know, at least Metal Gear Survive has story mode. Compared to this is just purely multiplayer. So at least there could be a bit of people who want to go and play, you know, the single player story mode. This doesn't even look like it has that. I mean, I could go on and on. I don't really know how this is going to turn out, but judging from, I actually just let me go ahead and refresh this again. I'm doing this 100% live, all in one take. Please forgive me if I'm like, you know, if I don't sound super like straightforward. I'm just kind of throwing things off the top of my mind. I don't like to rehearse things, but looking at the like to dislike ratio, this is very interesting. 1.6 thousand likes to 1.6 thousand dislikes, and they're currently at 26,512 views. So it's not like it just went up. It's been up for like two to 3 hours now on YouTube, and man, I don't know. You already have a lot of people saying that they're really not interested in this. This isn't, someone says here, not what I was hoping for. Capcom went out of the way to give us exactly what we didn't want. And again, this is what I'll say. It's not what we wanted, but at least it's not Resident Evil 8. At least this is not Resident Evil 3, that they're not pushing this multiplayer focused thing. It's literally a spin-off. I don't know how much time, money, and resources they're putting into it, but already it's getting a very big pretty much negative reception. I don't even want to say mixed. A lot of people aren't liking it, and I completely understand why. And I'm hoping they tweak it, they make it more like Outbreak, delay it, change it, because no one wants a Dead by Daylight version of Resident Evil. I don't think I've ever heard anyone want that. If you wanted to do something like that, why don't you just make a character like Tyrant and put him in Dead by Daylight and do a crossover? That's how you can get your name out there. You know, put a Resident Evil stage, put 2 Resident Evil characters, the way Stranger Things just did, and Halloween did, and Nightmare on Elm Street has. Do that, and give us an Outbreak game. That's what we all want. That's when we thought Project Resistance was going to be an Outbreak game. People were going nuts. I was hyped. Everyone was excited, and yeah. I still want to try this out as a Resident Evil fan. I want to see how it actually plays, how it is. I'm sure I could have a bit of fun playing it, but how long is the community going to last? Umbrella Corps barely lasted at all. I played it, you know, a bit, and I got pretty high in the ranked multiplayer mode, and I thought it was okay. From you know, just from having fun that initial time, but I never saw myself going back to it because there was no real market for it. No one wanted to play that, but I don't know. I'm gonna keep just going in circles with this. We'll have to see. They're gonna do the closed beta. I hopefully will get the chance to try it out myself so I can just give you guys my initial impressions and just kind of talk more about it. I'm hoping that Capcom's paying attention. Capcom has been on such a strong roll, and I do not want to see them fall off. Again, this is a spin-off, so I don't think they will, but hopefully they take the feedback and make this more like Outbreak, remove the PvP element, make it more just co-op. You don't even have to change and scrap the whole game. You just remove the asymmetrical aspect, make it more like Outbreak, a full co-op game. Make it online, obviously, and also let us play it offline. Add some cutscenes, add some story to it. You do not have to scrap the whole thing. Just please make it more like Outbreak and less asymmetrical, less like Dead by Daylight. That's a way you can save the game without having to start from scratch. But you know, Capcom, you haven't, you know, this wouldn't be the first time you've scrapped a Resident Evil game, you know, or a game in general, scrapped it and went back to the drawing board. You did it with Resident Evil 2, you did it with Code Veronica, you did it with, well, to a degree with Code Veronica, you did it with Resident Evil 4, you did it with Resident Evil 5, you could do it with Project Resistance. People will wait. They won't be dying for this if you say, hey, we're going to change this thing, you know, due to consumer feedback or whatever the hell. But anyway, I've been talking long enough. I think it's, yeah, already over 22 minutes, but let me know what you guys think. I just kind of wanted to go on a bit of a tangent, just discussing my thoughts. I'm not going to go on a hate train on Capcom because I feel that they could save this. It's, you know, still early to tell, but please change it, Capcom. People want it to be like Outbreak, myself included. Let's see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think is going to happen with Project Resistance? How do you feel about the direction they're going with it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think that, you know, if they tweak certain things, it could be what you wanted? You know, let me know in the comments below. Either way, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.